I guess it's about time I make one of these. What better way to get an understanding of someone's tastes than by their favorites list? So, in celebration of the 1-year anniversary of this channel, I decided to do something special and give you the video you've all been waiting for. Or not. First, a few ground rules. Number 1, this list will only include anime series. Standalone movies are not eligible. That means no Hosoda, no Ghibli, no Disappearance, or Satoshi Kon. That being said, movie series are eligible. The only other requirement for eligibility is that I've seen the show, which seems rather obvious, but that means some big names like Hunter x Hunter, Monster, Revolutionary Girl Utena, Code Geass, Katanagatari, Gunbuster, Eureka 7, Kill la Kill, and many others won't be included until I watch them. Also, the clips you're seeing right now make up a few of the many honorable mentions, but unfortunately I didn't have room to fit them all. Finally, bear in mind that my reasoning behind the rankings is mostly based on my enjoyment, and in some cases, how much a show meant to me. Now, if I know anything about top 10s, and I think my countless hours of perusing Watch Mojo lists speaks for itself, it's that people hate these stupid fucking intros. So without further ado, I give you Under the Scope Review's top 30 anime series of all time. So far. Number 30. Nichijou. Kicking off this list is one of my favorite anime comedies. Following the daily antics of a group of high school friends, a child genius, and her robot caretaker, Nichijou is one of the crazier entries you'll see with its disjointed, otherworldly skits. No matter how many times I see them, the jokes never get old. While I've only completed the series start to finish once, I've rewatched my favorite clips countless times and barreled over laughing each one, which is really part of the appeal. Nichijou is a collection of hilarious, over-the-top moments that somehow get funnier and funnier the more you watch, gaining steam throughout its 24-episode run. Kyoani shows have a habit of making mundane daily life fun, and with its dial permanently turned up to 11, Nichijou's take on the everyday is anything but ordinary. Number 29, Baraka Maan. The first and certainly not the last slice of life entry on this list, Baraka Maan earns this spot thanks to a perfect balance of good-natured fun with a heartwarming coming-of-age story. The comedic timing is always on point, allowing each of the characters' unique personalities to shine through. Baraka Maan is one of the few anime to get little children right, as Naru really carries the show. Her energetic persona is not only realistic, but also a pleasure to watch, and her dynamic with Honda provides both hilarious and incredibly touching moments. Baraka Maan easily goes down as one of the best series of 2014, and a shining example of the meaningful, fun storytelling the slice-of-life genre is capable of. Number 28, Black Lagoon. Fuck this show fucking rocks. Guns, blood, mountains of profanity, Black Lagoon's got it all. The high-octane gangster tale never ceases to provide buckets of violence, but Black Lagoon also manages a compelling look into the criminal mind, questioning human morality and what such a life can do to a person. Dokudo's descent from the business world to the criminal underground is both painful and captivating. Black Lagoon portrays this world with a sense of sickening beauty, at times glorifying the life, but showing its true nature at others. If you're a fan of action and want something darker and a bit more compelling than your typical battle shonen, Black Lagoon's absolutely the show for you. As long as you're okay with a little swearing. Just a little. Number 27, Mushishi. It's hard to find a real flaw in Mushishi. It's easily the most soothing series I've seen and uses atmosphere better than any other, creating a relaxing, serene vibe that's constantly entrancing. Following a wandering traveler in search of spirits called Mushi, it hits all the beats just right. The vignettes of Ginko's travels are both compelling and powerful, providing countless dazzling moments of mystical wonder. The breathtaking visuals lend the series an enchanting presence I couldn't turn away from. Hell, I still can't believe it started airing in 2006. I enjoyed the series more spacing it out rather than binging it, as it's the perfect show to turn on whenever you feel stressed. The calming vibe and alluring world hooked me from the start, but it's the masterful storytelling that never let go. Number 26, Space Battleship Yamato 2199. As a faithful remake of the pioneering 1974 series, Yamato 2199 is not your typical modern-day anime. You don't see grandiose space epics too often in today's age of moe do-nothings, so a callback like this is always welcome. However, when it's as exhilarating and well-told as Yamato, that's even better. Yamato does almost everything right, keeping all the aspects which made the original such a landmark series for the industry, but also updating it to the modern standards of animation and storytelling. With a highly intriguing world, numerous plot twists, excellently fleshed out cast, stunning visuals, and appropriately kick-ass soundtrack, Yamato does it all well. As a 26-episode OVA, it's a criminally overlooked series and fully deserving of a spot on this list. If you're tired of the options modern anime has to offer and wish we could go back to the so-called glory days, Space Battleship Yamato 2199 is exactly what you're looking for. Number 25, Ouran High School Host Club. My favorite rom-com of all time, Ouran Host Club doesn't work in spite of its countless tropes. It works because of them. Yes, the show is riddled with archetypes and cliches of all sorts, from the eccentric characters to the classic beach episodes. However, where that bogs down most series, it actually makes Ouran stand out, thanks to the way the show uses those tropes. It's not afraid to crack jokes at itself, and the banter between Haruhi and the others is always hilarious. Rom-coms have a tendency to forget about the latter half of that equation, ironic considering most of them never see any concrete resolution, but Ouran's different. While you've surely seen the romance before, it's the comedy which makes the series excel in a genre brimming with mediocrity and repetitiveness. Always fun and occasionally heartwarming, Ouran Koko Host Club represents the best of comedy, harems, and anime in general. Number 24, Sound Euphonium. There's no video I regret more than my UFO review, partly thanks to the way I wrote it, but mostly because I couldn't disagree with myself more. I've watched the series 3 times now, and each time I came away loving it more and more. Hell, the most recent rewatch inspired me to make a 16-minute analysis on the studio. UFO captures everything I love about KyoAni shows with its meaningful character story and terrific use of visuals. Not only does it look amazing, but the direction is some of the best you'll find, because Ishihara's a fucking master. Kumiko's a wonderful protagonist with her sarcastic, occasionally awkward personality, and Reina offers the perfect counter to her. Regardless of whether you think it's platonic or not, their relationship is incredibly genuine and meaningful, providing the series a poignant heart. Between its true-to-life glimpse into the workings of a high school band, the hilarious collection of characters, and the subdued, deeply relatable drama of a girl trying to discover herself and what she loves, UFO has a number of different ways to enjoy it. Depending on how Season 2 goes, there's still plenty of room for the series to move up this list. Rarely does anime use a high school setting so effectively, especially in drama, but Sound Euphonium nails every aspect. Number 23, Puella Magi Madoka Magica. Let me preface this by saying I haven't seen Rebellion, so my opinion on the series is completely unaffected by that. One of Gen Urobuchi's better products, Madoka's dark tale of magical girls and fulfilling your dreams is extremely harrowing. The characters constantly walk the thin line between hope and despair, providing a number of truly gut-wrenching moments. The twist at the end of episode 3 gets all the attention, but really there's something off about this world from the very start. Some criticize the characters for being too flat, but I think it works, highlighting the stark contrast between their candy-coated expectations and the miserable reality of it all. Madoka excels in a number of areas, from the unique artistic flair to Yuki Kajita's outstanding soundtrack, and the story is as heartbreaking as it is captivating, overall making it a clear standout. Ha! It can be done! I talked about why I like Madoka without ever mentioning the word deconstruction. Damn it! Number 22, Nagi no Asukara, A Lull in the Sea. One of my favorite dramas, Nagiasu is another series which succeeds in almost every facet. Immediately the visuals hit you. The backgrounds are breathtaking, the lighting is fantastic, and the water aesthetics are unbelievably crisp. The animation creates a unique, engrossing world, but the story makes it work. While the love dodecahedron is confusing at times, well, all the time, the character dynamics never slip too far into melodrama territory. Nagiasu's powerful message about change and the passing of time is something few shows manage to pull off. The soundtrack is in my personal top 10, perfectly matching the aquatic vibes with some tracks while capturing the raw emotion with others. Whether it's the outstanding execution of its themes or the incredible world and setting, Nagi no Asukara is a brilliant drama with a powerful lesson on growing up. Number 21, Kyoukai. Yes, I know, another KyoAni show. Well, don't worry, this will be the last one. For a while. Kyoukai absolutely deserves it though. It gets a reputation from many for being boring and dull, but many of these people fail to see the point behind the series. The mysteries are supposed to be pointless everyday questions most people wouldn't think twice about, again harkening back to that classic KyoAni idea of emphasizing the wonder in daily life. Ultimately, Kyoukai is about understanding, not of the mysteries, but of yourself and those around you. It's a story about the journey to find your identity, framed through a lens of classical mystery novels. The small character moments add up to an incredibly meaningful story arc, and the gradual shift in the way Oriki sees the world is both satisfying and powerful. His acceptance of the rose-colored campus life symbolized by the sakura tree gives the show its meaning. The visuals are quite literally perfect, and Yasuhiro Takemoto uses the medium to its full advantage. While you will enjoy it more if you're interested in the mysteries, the real story lies in its character arcs. Kyoukai is an incredibly well-rounded work, and a crown jewel of introspective character stories. Number 20, Shinsekai Yori. As the first review I ever made, admittedly, I'm feeling a bit nostalgic right now. 1 year and some 60 videos later, Shinsekai Yori still stands as one of my favorite series. It offers a unique spin on the typical dystopian with an incredible world that's both fantasy and sci-fi rolled into one. It raises compelling questions on human nature and morality, reflecting on what it means to be human. That being said, Shinsekai Yori is probably the most flawed series on this list. The animation's occasionally hard to look at, mostly due to a low budget. The first arc is downright boring and almost made me drop the show. The characters too often take a backseat to the plot, and the first few episodes are riddled with info dumps. Despite all those issues, however, Shinsekai Yori works because of its world and narrative. The final arc is well worth the wait, and the conclusion is as shocking as it is powerful. The writing in the final third and exceptional execution of its themes make Shinsekai Yori a brilliant piece of storytelling, and well worth the high praise I gave it in my original review. Number 19. Higurashi no Naku Koro ni. Fittingly, Higurashi might be the second most flawed series on this list. Like Shinsekai Yori though, I still think it's great. The plot gets pretty messy at times, and some parts of the first season may seem like a slog if you have no idea what's going on. However, Higurashi excels as a horror story thanks to its atmosphere. The jarring tonal shifts between moe, slice of life, and bloody slasher keep you on edge throughout, never knowing when a character's going to crack. The OST has tracks to fit every mood, and the crappy Dean animation almost works to the show's benefit, emphasizing the character's insanity and mental breakdown. Higurashi's writing is really something else, creating constant tension, perfect pacing, and a message about the meaning of friendship to boot. All in all, it makes for a fun series and a demonstration of what great horror really is. Number 18. Shirobako. What better way to follow up a dystopian and horror story than with workplace slice of life? My favorite series to come out of the last 2 years, Shirobako's glimpse into the making of anime and the inner workings of the industry is a fun, maybe even informative ride. But what really makes it stand out is the characters. Miyamori's the consummate protagonist, and the rest of the ensemble has just enough variety to always make things fun. It's an incredibly relatable story about never giving up on your dreams and the struggles of adulthood. It doesn't glorify it like some series, emphasizing just how frustrating it can be. However, it's all about perseverance and doing what you can. Shirobako's more than an intriguing behind-the-scenes look into the industry. It's a phenomenal character story, and one of my favorite anime of all time. Number 17. Psychopaths. Another Gen Urobuchi story, Psychopaths is an excellent cyberpunk, perfectly capturing everything I love about the genre. The world is engrossing, the action is well choreographed, the animation and soundtrack are top-notch, and the story raises interesting questions about justice and crime. Makishima is a highly intriguing villain, and the tango between him and Kogami provides a number of fantastic sequences. Outside of a few minor issues involving plot devices and Akane's development, I didn't have any significant problems with the series. Psychopaths is the perfect combination of thought-provoking depth and high-energy action, all wrapped up in a fun, cyberpunk setting. Just don't get me started on Season 2. Number 16. Monogatari. Even though I've only finished Baka Monogatari, take this as a spot for the franchise overall. As such, this is easily going to be the quickest entry to become outdated, as Monogatari will surely move up or down as I work my way through the rest of its many series. Based on what I've seen so far, however, up seems a bit more likely. Between the interesting characters, smart writing, and stunning artistic flair, Baka Monogatari was an all-around fantastic series. Nisio Isen's world is a stroke of genius, and Tatsuya Oishi's direction brought it to life. It takes the typical harem archetypes and twists them in ways we're not used to seeing, highlighting what drives people to such character tropes and how they would really act. This is the crowning achievement of harem anime, and it's not even close. Chances are I will have already finished the other series by the time some of you watch this video, but until then, I can't wait to find out what both the future and the past holds for these characters. Number 15. Steins Gate. Between the fascinating world of mechanics, exhilarating plot, and emotional breadth, Steins Gate stands out as a rousing entry in an easy-to-fuck-up genre. The slow-burning slice-of-life style of the first half perfectly introduces you to the world and characters, heightening that level of attachment so when tragedy struck, it hits you like a brick wall. Save for a brief period towards the end, the final 12 episodes are a non-stop thrill ride to say the least. Not to be overshadowed by the crazy time travel hoopla, the relationship and chemistry between Okabe and Kurisu is as good as it gets. Steins Gate used to be my second favorite anime of all time, and while it may not be quite that high anymore, number 15 is certainly nothing to scoff at. We've already reached the point in the list where every series is masterpiece level in my book, and despite a few issues, Steins Gate encompassed everything a great time travel story should and then some, easily making it one of the best in the genre. Number 14. Serial Experiments Lain. Some call it inaccessible, I say it's dense. Serial Experiments Lain is surely one of the toughest series to pin down, but once you unpack it, There's a harrowing story about the dangers of the internet and over-reliance on technology. Or a fascinating take on religion and the meaning of God. Or a reflection on loneliness and the importance of communication. You see where I'm going with this. Lain has so much meaning jammed into its 13-episode story, you could watch it 3 times and come away with a completely different interpretation each one. The compact nature doesn't appeal to everyone, but before you dismiss it as pretentious or some other meaningless criticism, at least try to understand it. Watching Lain now is a little frightening with just how prophetic it was in regards to society's dependence on the internet, a story I'm sure many of us could learn from. Number 13. Welcome to the NHK. This is a great example of why I don't want you to focus too much on the number. Welcome to the NHK is an absolute favorite. Its themes of depression and suicide may hit a little too close to home for some, but really that's what makes it great. No series I've seen has handled such themes with more power and realism than NHK, crafting a moving, gut-wrenching story about a hikikomori down on life struggling to get by. It presents this toxic idea of blaming oneself for one's problems and suffering, showcasing how destructive this can be to a person's psyche. Despite how heavy I make it sound, NHK's comedy is genuinely hilarious. Poking fun at all the ins and outs of otaku culture, NHK fits right up there with the Genshikens of the world. However, it's the harsh relatability and ultimately moving message, which puts it a notch above. Number 12. FateZero. Like Steins Gate, FateZero is a series which used to be higher up on my list, but is still one of my favorites nonetheless. As a fan of classical mythology, the Fate franchise piqued my interest from the start, but it was Zero that got me hooked. FateZero is a Greek tragedy through and through. It has the tragic hero in Kiritsugu, doomed by his fatal flaw. There's the overwhelming sense of insignificance in the face of a divine power hell-bent on controlling and destroying most of human life. Hell, there's even the extended prologue to set the stage. All hallmarks of the classic tragedy. The character's stubborn refusal to abandon their unrelenting ideologies proves to be their downfall. Not only does FateZero lead into Stay Night perfectly, but it provides the ultimate crushing blow to the character's flawed ideologies, giving them all a fittingly morbid end. Even so, the series ends with hope. I often think of FateZero as what the Star Wars prequels could have been to the original trilogy. In other words, FateZero is a great prequel and an even better tragedy. Number 11. Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. Is it possible to have 11 top 10 shows? It's not? Well, shit. Yes, with more favorites than spots, something had to get the boot out of my top 10, and unfortunately, it's Gurren Lagann. Even so, it earns this spot thanks to a kick-ass story combining ridiculous fun with a well-thought-out message. The in-your-face high-energy action and crazy tone perfectly complement the symbolism and themes, making for one of anime's most epic tales. Gurren Lagann basically says fuck logic and fuck reason, get out there and kick some ass. Think Shia LaBeouf with giant robots. On top of that, it's a classic take on Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. In fact, the more I talk about it, the more I question why I didn't bump something else out of the top 10. This is where I'd like to remind everyone that shows 11 through 6 are basically in one giant tie. Ask me in an hour and it could be completely flipped. With that, let's move on. Number 10. The Tatami Galaxy. With Masaki Yuasa's signature direction, a unique visual flair, and wild writing only the most seasoned of sub-watchers can keep up with, Tatami Galaxy is really something else. Every episode offers a unique experience as our nameless protagonist hopelessly tries to find the rose-colored campus life. With each spectacular failure comes a time reset and the promise of a new try, bouncing from club to club, each getting crazier than the last. Ultimately, Tatami Galaxy tells a powerful story about taking what life gives you and living it to the fullest. The perfect experience doesn't exist. Only when you accept that can you find the rose-colored life. With its unpredictable fun story and bizarre cast, Tatami Galaxy's quite the ride, and absolutely lives up to the hype. Number 9. K-On! K-On above Tatami Galaxy and Tengen Toppa? Oh, what is this blaspheme? You mouth-breathing, basement-dwelling, moe fetishist neckbeard. How dare you? Yep, that's right. K-On! The ultimate show about nothing, right? Of course not, but allow me to explain. First, K-On! Is fun. The girls' personalities perfectly play off each other, creating an endless line of hilarious moments and entertaining antics. Bear in mind, the show is not about the struggles of a fledgling band hoping to reach nationals. If that's what you want, go watch UFO. K-On! Takes an incredibly realistic approach to the daily life of a high school rock band, i.e. dicking around the whole time. Granted, if K-On!'s comedy doesn't appeal to you, then that's fine. You fun-sucking, humorless heathen. That's not the point I want to get at here, though. K-On! Portrays high school, graduation, friendship, and moving on better than any anime I've seen, and it's not even close. The girls' flourishing bond throughout the first half perfectly melds into the growing dread that all good things must come to an end in the second. It's incredibly true to life and perfectly captures the bittersweet feeling of moving on in any walk of life. True to form, the depressing realization that their carefree days with each other are numbered is quickly replaced with the excitement and promise of the fun time yet to come. The direction, animation, world, characters, music, everything works here. Simply put, K-On! Is a series I still think about all the time, and that might be the highest praise I can give it. Number 8. Fooly Cooly. Back to the more kick-ass side of things, I didn't actually watch Fooly Cooly for the first time until very recently. Obviously, I loved it. If you can't tell, I'm a sucker for great coming-of-age stories, and Fooly Cooly is arguably the most unorthodox and the best. It opts out of the understated drama present in some of the other entries in this list, replacing every instance of subdued character animation with robots bursting out of kids' foreheads. Fooly Cooly perfectly captures the feeling of growing up. At times it sucks, and it's never easy, but damn if Fooly Cooly doesn't make it fun. If I'd watched it 4 years ago, it probably would have been even higher on this list. Even so, it still gave me those nostalgic vibes the first time I saw it. The pillows might have had something to do with that. Number 7. Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. Feel free to lump the original movie in here too if you want. Standalone Complex still stands as the best cyberpunk has to offer in anime. First, we have the world, a riveting future society where complete cybernetic transplants are possible, giving the franchise its name. Then there's the cast, headlined by the Major, easily one of the best heroines in anime. And finally, we have the plot and heavy themes, with each iteration raising new questions about humanity, the over-reliance on technology, the mechanics of communication, and how quickly it can all deteriorate. The first season focuses more on the philosophical side, while Second Gig has a more plot and action-oriented shift. Each takes full advantage of the world, however, with both exploring the phenomenon where unrelated yet similar actions of individuals create a collective group effort, a standalone complex. Second Gig takes it in a more political direction, allowing the plot to expand and take on higher stakes. Ghost in the Shell is one of anime's flagship franchises, and Standalone Complex still holds up more than a decade later. Number 6. Baka Note. If you've seen my review, you should know what word's on the tip of my tongue. Fun. Baka Note's an up-tempo crime caper about gangsters and immortals complete with a sweet jazz soundtrack and tons of violence. Often compared to a Tarantino flick, Baka Note doesn't take itself too seriously, instead allowing the characters to gel and make light of the situation. The black comedy and wild plot fits perfectly, and the show maintains its high level of quality throughout. The nonlinear structure heightens the insanity, maximizes the entertainment value, and even challenges the conventions through which stories are told. Baka Note proves you don't have to have some deeper intellectual message to reach greatness. True entertainment value can be equally meaningful as thought-provoking depth. Trust me when I tell you I don't say this lightly. Baka Note is the most fun series I've seen, and while I'm admittedly a sucker for this type of story, it'll take quite the ride to top it. Number 5. Kara no Kyoukai, The Garden of Sinners. We've officially hit the upper echelon. Most people will probably tell you they like Kara no Kyoukai for 2 reasons, the atmosphere and production values. While it certainly excels in both areas, maybe even more than any other show on this list, that isn't why it's so high up. Don't get me wrong, I love Kara no Kyoukai for its animation, sound, and stories, but the reason I consider it a masterpiece is the main duo and their journey throughout the series. The way the mystery behind Shiki's character slowly comes together is compelling, and her story reflects upon the meaning of self and the role of free will in our lives, ultimately coming to the conclusion that as long as Kokuto's by her side, she is alive and in control of her own identity. Kara no Kyoukai has my favorite relationship in anime, as the dynamic between Shiki and Kokuto is heartwarming, tragic, and genuine rolled into one. They're the reason the 7th film is my personal favorite. Individually, the 5th and 7th are clear standouts, but the rest range from pretty good to mediocre at best on their own. Taken together, however, this is one of the best character stories in anime. Shiki's journey to find truth and understand herself is a breathtaking trip that only gets better as the series wears on. The last 20 minutes of the 7th film could be my favorite scene in all of anime. Sure, there's a lot of blood and plenty of dark themes, but in the end, Kara no Kyoukai is a beautiful series with an endearing story of love and loss, as long as you're willing to look. Number 4. Cowboy Bebop. It doesn't get more classic than this. Cowboy Bebop is one of the most revered titles in anime and a pioneering series in the West. Taking influence from a whole number of genres including western, sci-fi, and noir, Bebop makes it all work with flawless depth and a level of fluidity you wouldn't think possible. There's sure to be a story for you somewhere, as its individual vignettes are as diverse as it gets. The characters bounce between hilarious, badass, and emotionally impactful with ease. The overarching narrative which serves as the series' backdrop leaves a memorable message about running away from the past. Read, you can't. Either you accept it, or suffer the consequences when it rears its ugly head. Cowboy Bebop always carries itself with a supreme sense of assured coolness, like it knows its shit is awesome in every sense of the word. This is the incredible storytelling anime is capable of. This is what a classic looks like. Number 3. Neon Genesis Evangelion. If you've seen my Eva videos, this surely doesn't come as a surprise. The top 3 are not based on some bullshit measure of the objective best. Rather, these are the series that personally affected me the most. Most of the reasons I love Eva so much boil down to one thing: the meaning behind it all. It's a story about coming to grips with yourself and learning to accept who you are. It's not about loving yourself so much as it is having the hope that maybe one day you can. As long as you have the will to carry on, you can be happy. At times uncomfortable, Eva tells an intimately personal story about a collection of characters consumed with self-hatred and feelings of isolation. If that's not what you want, move along. But for me, Eva will always stand as an example of the best anime has to offer, and a masterful piece of fiction. Number 2. Clannad After Story. To clarify, this entry is really for Clannad in general. I simply mean to emphasize the reason it's up here is because of After Story. Clannad earns this spot thanks to its story of family that's both emotionally devastating and incredibly uplifting. It's earned its reputation as a tearjerker, but I feel people too often typecast it into that one description. Unlike some of Key's other works, Clannad never felt emotionally manipulative to me, especially during Tomoya's arc. The pain felt very real, and Tomoya's reactions always struck home. Not because, oh look, there's a character on screen crying, now I'm sad too. Rather because you genuinely understood his pain. Clannad is ultimately a story about life. You can never prepare for tragedy. However, it's that very suffering which makes us stronger. There's no series I get more defensive about when someone criticizes it than Clannad, but it's always for a few specific criticisms, particularly that the ending is an asshole. If you want to know more on that though, I point you towards the 20-minute video I made on it a while back. In short, Clannad played a major role in getting me where I am today, and for that, I'll always be thankful. And now, my number 1 anime of all time. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. I've run this channel for over a year now, and somehow I've never had the chance to really talk about my favorite series. Part of it's because I simply don't know where to begin. I guess I should start by saying Brotherhood's basically perfect. The only minor issue I see is the first 12 episodes or so are a little rushed, but if it bothers you that much, watch the beginning of the 2003 version. They're the same stories, only shortened in Brotherhood. The characters are all great. Ed and Al stand out as one of the best pairs in anime with their great back and forth, strong motives, and deeply personal bond. However, the supporting cast shines as well. Mustang and Hawkeye's relationship is always fun. Scar's a highly intriguing, complex villain. Hohenheim's mysterious background gives him a compelling arc. The Armstrongs are fucking great. Greed and Ling are the perfect tandem. I could go on for hours. The plot is where the series shines the brightest. Epic, exhilarating, there simply aren't enough superlatives to describe it. Hell, the show's climax eats up the last 20+ episodes, making it closer to a series of smaller climax leading up to the big finish. If you're anything like me, you'll consume all 64 in a few days. The animation's great, the soundtrack is phenomenal. What else is there to say? Brotherhood stands out in every area. Excluding Dragon Ball and Pokemon when I was a kid, Brotherhood was the first anime series I ever watched. And now, hundreds of shows later, it's still my favorite. I've rewatched the series start to finish 4 times, and every single one I loved it just as much as the last. It has a meaningful message to take away about the cost of gain and the meaning of perseverance. It's like Ed says in the end, there's no such thing as a painless lesson. Equivalent exchange. For every gain, something must be lost. But if you can endure that pain, you'll have the strength to take on any obstacle. Brotherhood's a story about always getting back up. It doesn't hide that message. And while there's a lot of great series I have yet to watch, for me, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood represents the best anime has to offer.